Jim Clyburn wants to take the heart out of this bill, the heart out of the legislation, the heart out of the patient. And he's like, that'd be okay. Then come back later and put a heart in it. And your friend Jim Clyburn has burnt us again. Yeah, he's been burning us for quite some time. If you're new to the game of politics, you might not know about Jim Clyburn. You may think that Jim Clyburn is a pillar to society. I know many others have been like, wow, this guy's great. He's amazing. He's done some amazing things. This guy was with SNCC and he voting rights and he went to jail for what he believed in. And you know what? That was all a very long time ago. He's a different man. He has been Washingtonized. He has been lobbyized. He has been conditioned to become a part of the system. And those beliefs, folks, are not the same. Here goes your friend, Jim Clyburn, talking about police reform and how he's willing to gut the George Floyd Justice in Policing Act just to get it through because, sometimes you gotta take out the most important things to get things through.
Bill, H.R. 1 as well as H.R. 4, which we now call the John R. Lewis Voting Rights and Advancement Act.
Right, but you are going to have to decide ultimately, in all likelihood, whether you're going to take the half a loaf, as you put it, rather than none. And the same thing with policing reform legislation. There's a tentative agreement. The biggest sticking point right now remains whether or not police can keep qualified immunity for officers, which Republicans, led by Tim Scott of your home state, say they need to keep. Again, is anything less? Do you need the whole loaf, or are you willing to pass the bill that has most of what you want, but just not the end to qualified immunity?
Well, I will never sacrifice good on the altar of perfect. I just won't do that. I know what the perfect bill will be. We have proposed that. I want to see good legislation, and I know that sometimes you have to compromise. But let me say this. I have been saying from the beginning, we have well-trained police officers. We've got to do a better job of recruiting police officers. We got to get good people, no matter how good the training. If you don't have good people, the training does no good. Now, the problem we've got now is that there are some bad apples in policing. We have seen it in our living rooms. We know it's still there. We got to root out the bad apples and let's go forward with a good, solid program. If we don't get qualified immunity now, then we'll come back and try to get it later. But I don't want to see us throw out a good bill because we can't get a perfect bill.
How many times I got to hear this story about the bad apples? Oh, the bad apples, the bad apples. There we go again with the bad apples. I've been hearing about the bad apples so long, I should be able to make, 10,000 apple fritters, 10,000 apple pies, some apple butter, a few million baskets of candied apples, some apple cider. Hell, we even go up to see Andrew Yang in the Big Apple and we could sit around drinking some hard apple tea. And the point is that this apple thing, Jim Clyburn is diminishing the whole point of the bill. The whole point of the bill, guys, there are other things in the bill that matter. Banning chokeholds, that matters. No-knock warrants, getting rid of those, that matters. Limits on equipment from the defense. The over-militarization of our police forces, these things matter. But folks, I'm trying to tell you, if you take away qualified immunity, which is the mechanism, ending qualified immunity will remove the mechanism that allows police officers to get away. Because, for instance, Derek Chauvin, he didn't use a warrant. And what he used on George Floyd was not technically a chokehold. It was a pressure technique. He also didn't use militarized ammunitions or battle rams or MRAPs. He didn't get any special equipment from Afghanistan or Syria. Surplus stuff. No. He did it with his damn knee in broad daylight. What we need to do is hold police accountable for what they do, just like every other profession. Every other profession. If you go into a grocery store today and the grocery store owner, one of the workers, kills you, they can go to jail and they can get sued. And that's because they're responsible for what they do. Qualified immunity allows police officers to get away without responsibility for their actions. Jim Clyburn wants to take the heart out of this bill, the heart out of the legislation, the heart out of the patient. And he's like, it'll be okay. We can come back later and put a heart in it. The problem is, it'll kill the patient. And the problem is, that's not how any of this works. Jim Clyburn is on the wrong side of justice. He wants to take the teeth out of this bill. He wants to take the mouth out of this bill. Well, Jim Clyburn, if you take the teeth out of this bill, don't go get the people some nuts and berries and some barbecue to chew. They can't chew it. You should know better as a son of South Carolina. You should know better. Jim Clyburn is making a mistake. He's not making a mistake. This is intentioned. With his bad analogies of bad apples, he gives us this. No. Not good enough, Jim Clyburn. Not good enough. Before I get off Clyburn, I want to make this point, guys. Clyburn is garbage at this point. At one time, he was someone who stood up. Now he's a part of the machine. This is a horrible thing. That's why I must call him out. He deserves every bit of scrutiny, every bit of criticism. But if I'm going to criticize House Majority Whip Jim Clyburn, longest standing congressperson, I think that's his title, his designation, for not doing the right thing, how about a little bit of praise for Cori Bush for standing up for the right thing? Because see, Cori Bush went on national TV and she said she would not compromise on qualified immunity, no matter what they said.
The question I think Congress is facing right now is, would you accept a qualified immunity alternative that would hold police departments accountable if it means getting the George Floyd police reform bill through Congress, even if it's not 100% of what you initially wanted?
You know, right now we need to end qualified immunity, period. You know, that's my stance. So
you are not willing to compromise on that?
So we compromise on so much, you know, we compromise, we die. We compromise, we die. We compromise, we die. You know, I didn't come to Congress to compromise on what could keep us alive, because it holds police officers specifically accountable. Because the thing is this: if you don't hurt people, if you don't kill people, if you are just and fair in your work, then do you need the qualified immunity anyway? You know, so the thing is, all of this safety net. The safety net shouldn't be there. But let me say this: where are all of these special protections for nurses and for other people in other positions that do very dangerous work that's just trying to help people? So no, I will not compromise on that. We need to end qualified immunity, and the reason why there is this open lane for compromise is because they see that people will do it. I didn't come. St. Louis did not send me here. St. Louis being number one for police murder in the country per capita, and has been that way for years. The people did not send me here to save their lives by falling down on the one thing that we needed the most. No.
So as this bill is already passed the House, it's going to the Senate. They want it passed by the 25th, which is the anniversary of George Floyd's death. Doesn't look like we're going to make that date, but that's what they're shooting for. The symbolism is uncanny, isn't it? But when it goes back to the House, when whatever reforms or compromises, half a loaf or whatever the hell Jim Clyburn's talking about. If it goes back to the House and it's without qualified immunity, Cori Bush says she will not stand with it. She will not sign it. She will not compromise on that. And instead of other people that have been critical of Cori Bush, who's been in D.C. for like 2 seconds, no disrespect, Cori, but you did just get there. You're a freshman. They were very quick to criticize you for not, standing up to Nancy Pelosi the way they wanted you to at the time they wanted you to do it. But I have yet to hear any of them give you props for this. That's why I question people's motives. Because if I'm going to dunk on Jim Clyburn, I'm also going to support the people that are standing up for it. Cori Bush, thank you so much for standing up on this issue. Shame on those who won't give her props for it, who insist on dogging Clyburn and dogging Cori and dogging Jamal and dogging Ilhan Omar and dogging everyone else, even though they're standing up on this issue. I know, because it's not an issue you really care about. You say you care about it. If you cared about it, you would care about and support. You would promote. You would report on the issue. And you would report on those Congress people that are supporting your issue. This is not a bad apple, good apple, rotten apple, half apple, cooked apple, baked apple, fried apple situation. This is cops are to be held accountable for their damn actions. That's all this is. And Jim Clyburn is letting them off the hook again. And if you're new to the game, you're just getting started, you want to get in the news business, know this. He was bad for a very long time. Check the resume.
Most news shows are suspect. They don't focus on Black issues, and when they do, it's all fluff. How does that help your life? How does that help your family? How does that help the culture? They don't. The Tim Black Show is different. Tim Black gives you news for people who can't stand the news. Real, authentic, researched, entertaining, on point. Don't let nobody take your cornbread. Visit www.timblacktv.com today. Get Black breaking news, politics, culture from someone you can trust. timblacktv.com. Join us today.